Hello there, how are you? Welcome to What the Flick. I'm Christy Lemire. This is Alonso Duraldi. This is Matt Atchity. We are all here. It is a day after a weekend. So
Monday, they call it.
Yeah, sometimes they call it Monday. So we have box office to talk about. A lot of people went and saw Ant-Man and the Wasp. It did really well, perhaps not as well as some of the forecast expectations for it, but a lot better than the original Ant-Man because folks now know about it. So the sequel, Ant-Man and the Wasp, made $76 million domestically. Worldwide, it made $161 million. So a bunch of that money came from overseas film goers. And I would assume this is just because people now know what it is. Like, not everyone knew what an Ant-Man was. I will admit that I did not know what an Ant-Man was 3 years ago when that movie came out, but now I'm well versed.
Now you know.
There you go.
Yes.
It's as though it were basketball. Now you understand.
People love that little discussion we had about basketball last week. Check out our Uncle Drew review if you want to see how versatile we are here at What the Flick.
So everybody knows something about something.
Right, but not a whole lot about anything.
No.
So Ant-Man was #1 this weekend, not surprisingly. I think they figured it might do as much as $85 million. That did not happen. And you know what? A lot of places in the country, it was super hot, including Los Angeles, where many people at this table don't have air conditioning.
Ugh.
Or people have had power outages and thought maybe they'll go to the movies instead, and they did not.
You know, I wonder a little bit, did some of the box office go down because MoviePass crashed on Friday? And people
did
weren't
it
able
really?
to, yeah, that was a big story, is that MoviePass was not running, and people ended up buying tickets themselves in some cases, and now MoviePass is scrambling to get refunds to their members that ended up buying tickets on their own.
Oh, interesting. So maybe that number might have been even higher.
So
for
people might have
something
stayed
like
home.
that.
Yeah, I wonder if because MoviePass was not working, they had some technical difficulties. Because we've seen in some cases, MoviePass is arguably moving the needle as far as attendance is concerned.
But didn't they just say that a weekend like this is one of their surge pricing moments where you're going to pay $2 more for a big movie on an opening weekend? So anyway, it is now, it did really, really well. People liked it.
Incredibles 2 is holding on very well.
Incredibles 2 is now the highest grossing animated film ever in North America.
Yeah, not adjusted. But apparently even adjusted, it's only behind like 3 movies now.
Yes.
So
it made $29 million this weekend. The first Purge also opened this weekend. It actually opened on Wednesday, July 4th.
Right.
So it's been out for 5 days. So its 3-day haul is $17.2 million, and over the 5-day, it made $31.1 million, which is about what the previous Purges also did. This was a Purge prequel or a Purge-quel.
And it was $13 million, so they've to produce.
Right.
So they've already cleared profit.
To make, yes.
I think the interesting story about the summer is not just that, you know, Pixar and superheroes and movies we would expect are raking in the bucks, but there's a lot of indie action going on. I think everybody wants to go to the movies in the summer, including the relatively smaller audiences for things like documentaries.
Right. So,
you know, you have Won't You Be My Neighbor has now become the highest grossing doc of the year as a summer release. It's made over $12 million. Whitney almost cracked the top 10 on only 425 screens with a little over 1 million from this weekend. Sorry to Bother You had a really strong opening with a per screen average of $44,000. So, you know, these are studios yawn at these numbers, you know, but I think that it's interesting if you're looking at the overall attendance of films that these movies that we think of as being sort of like potential awards contenders or of being sort of, you know, having that sort of Sundance-backed sheen to them, you don't necessarily just have to release all of those in September. You can put them out in July and people will go see them.
Yeah, or August. I mean, I think for like a decade now, like late July, August has been your sweet spot for alternative programming, right? Because people do want something good, and most big studio things that come out in August are pretty terrible.
True.
For the most part, yes. So we're actually going to have a review of Whitney. The lovely Jason Carter will join me later on. We'll have a little cry fest. We're going to hold hands and we're going to hug and sob. It's going to be great. So we're going to do that later on. So yeah, so box office, Jurassic Park, Jurassic World. I keep calling it Jurassic Park. Jurassic World is still hanging in there. Uncle Drew is hanging in there. Anyway, we have reviews of all of these, so look for them in the wide variety of Young Turks reviews. We should also talk about, we have some movie news for you. So Robin Wright, who is now the president, of course, Robin Wright was on the Today Show today, and she spoke about working with Kevin Spacey, right? Because the new season of House of Cards is coming out. We have, in previous seasons, here on What the Flick, reviewed House of Cards. Perhaps folks will this time.
I gave up.
Is this not the last season though?
This is the last season.
Yes, I'm still watching it. Maybe we'll review it.
I was gonna say,
we'll see.
maybe people who have watched it the whole way through should talk about it.
Perhaps, perhaps.
I have not. Anyway, so Robin Wright was on Today's Show, and of course they had to ask her about working with Kevin Spacey, who of course was forced off the show after many allegations of sexual misconduct were brought against him, some very recently, some new ones, and she pretty much said, I didn't know anything. She said, I knew the man between action and cut. We worked together. And she said, I don't know how to even get a hold of him now. I don't know how to find him. Is that possible?
I mean, there's a little bit of I don't know her to that. But I think at the same time, we have this idea that when actors work together, that they're like palsy. And I think a lot of times, no, they come out of their trailer, they do their thing, and they go back to their trailer, you know? So, and it's not like either of them is the most, has a reputation for being the most huggable person on earth. You know what I mean? So, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but they're intense. They, you know, I'm sure they like to stay in character. I totally believe that they wouldn't be chummy off screen.
They may not be chummy, right? And there are a lot of people who will talk about, and if you read between the lines of what she's saying in this, a lot of people will talk about around Kevin Spacey, excellent craftsman.
That's the word she used.
Right? Or that's right. They'll talk about he's a great actor. And nobody's like, oh man, I love that guy. They're all impressed with him as an actor, but very few people are like, oh, but I've always loved him and we have great affection for him. He's not, you know, the opposite would be somebody like Sandler, right? Adam Sandler can be a great actor, sleepwalks his way through stuff, but people work with him because he's great to work with and his sets are really fun and he's fiercely loyal. Spacey doesn't come off like that. So I could see that they're not hanging out a lot outside of, I mean, I could very easily see after that much time, like, yeah, really, unless we're on set, I don't want to talk to him at all.
Because it was 5 seasons.
Because it was 5 seasons. Right? That I get. I do find it a little hard to believe that none of those rumors had reached her way. Now I get that, okay, she's not seeing that behavior because she's a woman and he's not doing that to her, but you can't, I do find it hard to believe that, I mean,
yeah,
look,
but that's not the question they asked her.
True, that's true.
She
right.
may well have heard all kinds of stuff, and maybe, but if she didn't witness it, and
true,
then they weren't close.
She didn't
That's all
know
she said.
about it.
Right, and on an appearance like the Today Show, those questions will be negotiated in advance, right?
Course.
And so,
Oh, right, no surprises. Yeah,
right.
of course.
So, sure.
All right. Also, we have some sad news for you. Tab Hunter has died.
Yes.
Heartthrob and now gay icon. Tab Hunter.
3 days shy of his 87th birthday. He was healthy. This is a guy who rode horses every day.
He lived on a ranch with his husband.
Yes,
outside of Santa
but like
Barbara.
had been riding horses all of his life and just was loved that. And when the film came out, they came to Outfest, and then I did a Q&A with them.
What is the film?
At the New Art, Tab Hunter Confidential, which is also the name of the memoir that Tab Hunter wrote. Jeffrey Schwartz directed the documentary, and they were lovely. And Tab, I remember meeting him, thinking like, he's healthier in his 80s than I will ever be.
We popped that picture of him at 87 years old. I'm like, man, I don't look that good now.
He would kick your ass, you know. It is a sad loss. He was a 50s heartthrob. He was a closeted gay man, like quite a few 1950s heartthrobs were. He had the same agent as Rock Hudson, in fact, and you know, had a really interesting career. I mean, like we think of him as just sort of kind of beefcake pinup, but you know, he was in Damn Yankees. He worked with I want to say William Wellman. You know, like he did some legit acting work, and then later he had enough of a sense of humor to come back and be in John Waters' Polyester, where he was brilliant, and then later produced the film Lust in the Dust, both of which paired him with Divine. So you know, this is a guy who lived long enough to be in the Hollywood closet and make 2 movies where he got to make out with Divine. So you know, that's a pretty great.
I believe that there's a project. I think somebody's working on a film that
about his relationship with Anthony Perkins.
Perkins,
and
yeah.
Zachary Quinto is going to play Tony Perkins because they had this. It was a very intense relationship, but they were both closeted. And then Tab Hunter actually did Fear Strikes Out on television, and then Anthony Perkins stole the movie role. And that was kind of it for their relationship.
Is that what killed their love?
Yes. He writes about this in the
As
book.
well it should.
Yeah, right?
Interesting.
Shady.
And
Wow.
also, he was sort of a pop star. He had a song called "Young Love." Go look it up while you're here hanging
It's
out with
on
us on
YouTube,
YouTube.
yeah.
Go look up "Young Love."
But
And one of his complaints in his book, I think, is the studio that he was with didn't have a strong enough recording.
No,
arm.
they didn't have one at all.
have
He
one
was
at all.
under contract with Warner
Right.
Brothers that had no record label, and then when he had a hit with it, Jack Warner's like, well, we need a record label, and hence Warner Brothers Records was born, thanks to Tab Hunter.
Oh my God. You could do a whole amazing movie on crazy stuff that Jack Warner had done.
Oh, well,
right?
true.
Like the legend around Warner Animation is that he finally canceled Looney Tunes when he thought, oh wait, we're not doing Mickey Mouse? That's not us?
No,
I don't believe that, but that's a good story.
it is a good story. Yeah, so go look up "Young Love." His appearance on the Perry Como show. He looks very kind of aw shucks and adorable, and girls are screaming and going nuts for him. Yeah, I don't know that he was
None of which
necessarily
mattered.
right. I'm not sure he was a great actor, but he had
his
a
moments.
hunky presence.
He had his, there are a
Yes.
few films you can point to and go, okay, this guy has some idea what he's doing.
Right, he played Jimmy Pearsall. For those of you who are Red Sox fans and baseball fans, he played Jimmy Pearsall. at
In
one
Fear
point.
Strikes Out.
There you go, and he was in Grease too.
Yes.
For the end, he's the hunky teacher.
They
that
sing
Connie
Reproduction.
Yes.
Oh, right.
I don't think they even know what a pistol is.